Stephen Fasano from JAMA Software.
Cool. Great. Thank you, everybody. So TubeTin alerted me to the fact that this is a demo day, not a presentation day. So I'm holding the PowerPoint slides. I want to jump right into the software. But I do want to give a kind of precursor before I jump in for those of you who have no idea what JAMA Software is. So JAMA Software, we're right in the Pearl in Portland, and we are essentially a product management software company. So it's a Java-based web application. If anybody programs in Java, we are hiring as well, so keep that in mind. And essentially what we're doing is tracking all of the tiers of your product development process in a central location. The way that a lot of teams are doing this today is through Word documents, Excel spreadsheets that have no way to connect the dots together, and the conversation happens in a separate email archive that then gets lost and has no connection to what you're actually building. So this is a central web application that does all of that all in one place. What you see on the top right, in my dashboard here is an outline of sort of the items that I'm tracking inside of this project in JAMA. So starting with some sort of idea or strategy that's guiding why I'm building what I'm building, that then defines the themes, epics, stories, for example, in an agile process. Or if we're working in more of a traditional waterfall process, those might be market requirements, driving downstream system level requirements and subsystem requirements and a hardware software configuration. The benefit of this is that you can see these are all linked together. So what ends up happening is I'm now tracking each of these individual items as a separate unit inside of my application here. So right here, I'm not managing a separate Word doc of my themes that I'm building. This is a list of themes. Each one has its own priority, its own status, built into the application, and so I can edit directly in line here, I can make changes, and when I do make a change, so if I jump into a specific item and edit this item, and here where it says change one sentence, I'm going to say make a big change. We're going to go ahead and save and close that. What happens is the version history for this change that I've made as a senior product manager or program manager now trickles down. Anyone that visits this item can see that from version 14 to 15, the description changed. They can compare those two versions side by side and show detail of the change. So you can see the exact text that was removed and added inside of that element. And better than that, downstream, you can see my relationship on the top right. It's causing suspect for the item downstream. So if I click on that, I can see here is the downstream epic that was being written to fulfill that upstream high-level goal. And now the owner of this item can start a conversation around what needs to change in order to accommodate the deliverable that is now new in the product. That's the big idea. The idea that now all of these different items are linked together, and I can see from the leftmost column with my high-level objectives how those relate downstream to lower level goals and tiers until we can finally see the status of the individual stories that our development team is working on, the status of our test cases that our test team is performing, and tracking all of the defects that relate up to those high-level goals. So that's the big picture right now, right there. In addition to simply creating relationships between items, we're also providing that environment for people to collaborate in. So like I said, no longer getting conversations lost in an email archive. Here we have a collaboration engine built right into the tool. So I can jump over here, and you can see I can @mention individuals. I can get a breakout of the exact item that we're talking about, all while inside the tool tracking decisions that are made. In addition, I can send virtual documents out to my stakeholders to be reviewed, to get feedback on them, and to get approval for what I'm building and why we're building that. So if I jump into the item here, you can see here's a review where I'm going down, checking off the item, saying I approve of what we're planning on building, or I have changes that need to be made. You can raise issues inside of the tool, have a conversation with your fellow product definers to figure out what needs to change or be rewritten about your specifications or your requirements. And inside of the review center, we can track all of that feedback. We can also track the stats for everyone that you've asked to review this document. Now you can see how much time they've spent, how far along they are, whether you need to follow up with an email to get them to log into the system and provide their feedback. So we, and so to wrap up, that's JAMA. It's a place to manage all of your tiers of your product definition process and a place for collaboration and review to take place. And I'll take it.
3 minutes. Questions?
Ready?
So does it expect you to be using any particular methodology, or does it work just as well for XP or Scrum and all those other things?
Great question. So I am showing here sort of the idea that we're making a software application and we're a pure agile shop where we're using agile terminology, theme, epic, story, but we do have the ability to kind of create item types that relate to your process. So if I change projects here and change over to another project, inside the same instance of JAMA that I'm running, I could have something where I'm calling it a business requirement or a market requirement upstream, and I'm tracking use cases, functional requirements, divided up by hardware, software. So if you're doing an integrated device, a Nest thermostat or a pair of headphones or something like that, where you have a lot of software, hardware teams collaborating, you can manage all of those processes inside the tool.
How are you different from Pivotal Tracker?
So Pivotal Tracker was brought up earlier. I'm not completely familiar with Pivotal. It sounds like it's storyboarding and like release planning. Is that sort of
Yeah, it's like project management for agile software.
Yeah. So so I can't speak specifically to kind of competitive differences. It sounds like it might be similar. I know that sort of the key strength of JAMA is the fact that you have all of these different hierarchies. A lot of the other tools on the market tend to kind of let you go just like one tier.
Yeah.
So that might be the difference there.
Yeah, I just came across Slack recently, and I noticed you can incorporate media and footage and such like that. Will this allow us to do that, and is there going to be a fee?
Sure. So Slack is more of a just collaborative engine. So it's sort of the collaborative piece of this, similar to kind of the collaboration stream that I showed here. We obviously do a lot more besides just the collaboration. So Slack would probably have a stronger image embed feature or video embed. The reason you would use something like this is that you want these conversations not separate from the documents you're created, but integrated with.
Let's say I'm a technical manager and I care about where the implementation meets the story. How's your integration with source control?
Yeah, great question. So we integrate most commonly, we have out-of-the-box integrations with development tools like Jira, Rally, Microsoft TFS. And so we would hand the stories that we define in JAMA and link back up to the original objectives. We would link those stories then to a tool like Jira, and Jira would be the application that kind of links into source control. So we might not interact with source control directly, but through a development tool. Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Next up is Anna Guyton from Bit Consultants, Opportunities for Empowerment.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Anna, and my partner Ian and I are the co-founders of Bit Consultants. Tonight, we're very excited to share some information with you that can empower every person here. In 2014, an estimated 180 million people had their credit card or debit card information stolen through security breaches of major corporations. That's about 3 out of every 4 adults in the United States, and that's just this year. Every time you use your bank card, you inadvertently expose yourself to identity theft and fraud, a serious risk for both consumers and businesses. But what if there was a way for us to instantly transact with one another without needing to share any personal information? In 2009, this technology was invented, and it's called the blockchain, better known as Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a distributed network that allows money to be sent through the internet in a way that has never before been possible. It is faster, safer, and cheaper than any traditional payment method. There's no transactions don't require any personal information, and they are sent directly from person to person. There are no banks, governments, or companies necessary to achieve this. Bitcoin is simply a free, open source software available for anyone to use. Over 1 million people around the world are now using Bitcoin and transacting with it on a daily basis, and this number is rapidly growing. We at Bit Consultants are encouraging this trend by offering free public resources to help teach people about how Bitcoin works. Businesses who choose to accept Bitcoin as a payment option have a unique opportunity to capitalize on this growing trend and stand to benefit in many other ways as well, which we're about to reveal. However, as a business owner, it can be difficult to navigate this rapidly evolving ecosystem because it can be overwhelming and very time-consuming. So with our expertise, we help businesses make it fast and easy to accept Bitcoin payments. Here are some of the advantages. Primarily, by accepting Bitcoin, you're simply offering your customers another way to pay you, a safer and cheaper way. Unlike PayPal, Square, or any other credit card processors, there are absolutely no processing fees or monthly fees of any kind. You also have the ability to automatically exchange your Bitcoins into dollars and have them deposited into your bank account the next business day completely free of charge. Chargeback fraud is impossible with Bitcoin, which eliminates another significant and very costly risk for business owners. You also significantly reduce your liability by never handling your customers' private information. And finally, Bitcoin is the most versatile payment system. There's no additional hardware required, whether you're a brick and mortar storefront business, accept payments online, or send invoices to your clients. Bit Consultants can help you accept fast, free, and easy Bitcoin payments. There are currently over 100,000 businesses around the world accepting Bitcoin, including major companies like Overstock.com, Dell Computers, and Expedia. Currently, in the greater Portland area, there are only about 40 businesses accepting Bitcoin. Yet there are hundreds of local Bitcoin users who are enthusiastic about supporting businesses who choose to accept it. It's a unique opportunity to expand your customer base and increase your publicity. Now we'd like to give you a very quick demo of how easy it is to accept a Bitcoin payment. If your customer would like to pay with Bitcoin, you simply open your Bitcoin checkout app, enter your order number, enter the amount owed to you in dollars, and then show your customer this QR code. Your customer will then scan the QR code, accepts, oh, there it goes, and hit send.
Questions?
In seconds, I'm almost finished. In seconds, you'll receive payment confirmation. Bit Consultants offer a wide variety of services, including streamlined integration for businesses, education for the general public, targeted marketing to the Bitcoin community, best practices for storage and security of digital currencies, and investment opportunities with Bitcoin. So I went a little bit over, but I'll take a few questions. Thanks.
Questions?
Yes.
What do you recommend regarding iOS payment systems, since Apple has blocked apps specifically which support Bitcoin?
That's a great question. Apple has since lifted the ban, and there are now apps with all the major payment processors for iOS. Yes?
Did you mean to say that there were like 40 companies that take payment with Bitcoin and only 100 or so, or hundreds who
In Portland.
in Portland who have it?
In Portland, yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
I mean, does that mean it's just a handful per store? I mean, wouldn't you have better luck taking gold dust or barter with chickens or something?
The fact is that
Because there are more people who have chickens.
It's a good question. Probably only in Portland could you ask about bartering with chickens.
we have farmed this business to bring Bitcoin to the mainstream here in Portland. So we are reaching out to people all the time, trying to help them understand how to use Bitcoin. We're hoping to build that number considerably over the next year. But also certain businesses like restaurants and cafes could make a lot of money off of people who already have Bitcoin. Yes.
Businesses like gathering information on us. Is there some pushback from them because now they can't know what my buying habits are?
There is pushback, but unfortunately Bitcoin is such a far superior payment system that it doesn't really matter. Yes.
Guarantee converting $50 in Bitcoin.
Okay, so there's several payment processors that assist in that process. They lock in the exchange rate at the moment of sale, so you're guaranteed the exact amount in dollars that you charge from your customer. Yes.
Well, two things. Which exchange do you go by for U.S. dollars rates? As there's many different ones from DC. And for those, I understand, but for those who don't know, why is Bitcoin so much safer than your PIN number on your card?
Well, as I mentioned before, your personal information is never tied to your Bitcoin transactions, which automatically protects your identity. In terms of exchange rates, it depends on the payment processor that you're using. They often use their own exchange rate. So when you create that QR code that we did in the demo, it has its own exchange rate built into that. So you're guaranteed to get the right amount on the other end. Yes?
Yeah, I want to jump on that comment about so few people. I'm a techie and I still can't figure out how to pay for things with Bitcoins. What needs to happen for those hundreds of people in Portland with Bitcoin to become hundreds of thousands of people?
That's a great question, and one we're working on very hard, trying to figure out how to reach the masses. Yeah.
Hi everybody, my name is Vivek Mano, and I'm the founder and inventor of Wiggle. Yay! 2 decades ago, I received my first musical instrument, as I'm sure most of you guys did as well. It was this thing. And I remember my music teacher teaching us how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb. I was so excited to go home and practice that, get good at it, except I sucked. And to be honest, it was just frustrating to learn this new instrument. Music practice was tedious. I was in a room by myself, trying to play these notes, nobody out there to help me out. And back then, I really wished I had a musical buddy. Fast forward 20 years, and we came to this point. I invented Wiggle, which is a musical robot controlled by musical notes. I'll get into that just a little bit more. Just to give you some background, we did a lot of research over the past year with local schools here in Portland. We've been out to museums to do testing and get to this nice cover that you guys see now. And with that, I think that we've built something that's pretty entertaining for a lot of people. So with that, I'm just going to jump right into it. If you guys see here, this is the one prototype that I have. I'm just going to power it on. The whole concept behind Wiggle is that we want to make music practice and music education fun again for kids. And through our testing process, what we learned is that a lot of kids have trouble hearing notes the same way adults hear notes. So where you and I can tell that something is off key or something isn't right, a kid might not necessarily know that. And so what I wanted to do is give them some feedback outside of just musical notes. So what we usually do is I tell them that if they want to move this robot forward, they've got to play an A note correctly. So if I play an A, we get the robot to move forward. If they get to move backward, it's G. And then of course other notes like C or D turn left or right, so. So with that, you guys can see it's kind of a very simple. So it's hearing everything at this point, if you guys can't tell. What we did was, this was kind of basic music practice, and we took it up a level after that. Once kids were able to play the notes and move it around in a fun way, we started sequencing songs in there. So if you get a whole song right, it does a little wiggle dance. I'm not going to attempt that in front of this group. If you guys want to with me after, we can try that. But what I'll say, a bigger part of this is that I'm a big believer in getting toys and robotics and educational tools out there that don't use a tablet or smartphone for the kid to interact with it. So for this, I just wanted the instrument and the toy, and that's it. Nothing else. They're up and going with this. With that, I had this bigger, much bigger idea that I want to build other robotic toys that help kids and motivate them to get them into engineering, coding, all these subjects. So with that, I took a take on this, and I'll show you guys. We're actually using notes as code to make this move around. So I'm going to change modes to my coding mode. So now what he's doing, he's just listening for notes. So what I'll typically do is if I want this robot to move out here, he's got to move forward, turn right, and then move forward again. So we have to sequence these notes in, just like lines of code, and then hit the enter key to make it all happen. As I'm talking, I noticed I picked up a lot of things, so I'm just going to clear the memory, and we'll do this the right way. And then I play the enter key. It's got a memory of about 20 notes built in there. But with that, I think of it as the basics of the infrastructure of coding, really, where notes are pseudocode. And so we teach in the basic skills of programming through musical notes. That's Wiggle in a nutshell. We'll just stop right there. And really the big thing is, when I want to get this out to schools, STEM is a big subject, but STEAM, which is adding art to STEM, isn't as acknowledged. And I'm hoping that a robot like this can bridge that gap, where for me, music is math, math is music. And so I think we can bring it all together with Wiggle. Final pieces for the production unit. We are crowdfunding Indiegogo. We're planning on selling these for $99 MSRP, so it's $99 to get one of your own.
How many Bitcoin is that?
Good question.
Questions?
All right, cool.
Any questions?
The truck outside's playing your robot.
Yeah. Right here, yeah.
So you've got more robots planned. So is there someday am I going to be able to play the cello to mow my lawn?
Yeah.
Awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Anybody else want robotic lawnmowers that you can use with instruments? Maybe I'll go into that. Yeah. Oh, you do.
$99.
Yeah.
I'll get you $99.
If there are no other questions, come talk to me at the after party.
When do you make number 2?
This week. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any plans of, like programming songs into them so you're teaching kids how to play songs, or is it more just on the coding side?
No, that's a good point, Ryan. On the song side, we will have songs pre-programmed in here for it to listen to. So when you get that whole song correct, it does a dance. The developer edition, it won't be $99, it'll be a bit more. We'll let you add your songs into there. We're still working on that model right now. Yes?
Does it work with other instruments?
Yes, so that's a great question. It works with any, I call it tonal instrument. So percussion doesn't work as well. Drums, it will move, it'll just move in a very random way. But recorder, cello, violin, guitar, if you can sing, it moves very well. So anything that has just a very clean musical note, it works well. We were at the Unipiper this past weekend, so it works with bagpipes. I confirm that.
So Britney Spears shouldn't buy one, right?
Correct. Right.
More questions?
Back there.
Or the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Have you considered developing something that would help you learn languages? Respond to. That's a good idea.
I will now.
And you got that idea at the Portland.
Exactly, yes. Yes.
What kind of, can you go into more detail of what kind of validation you've done with public schools?
Public schools is a tough one. To be honest, I've been mainly going to private schools just because they are able to afford this right now. Public schools are a bit tougher just because you guys know Core Commons out there, we're not sure what's going to happen. I'm trying to get this into a curriculum, but they're basically telling me to hold off just a little bit, so I'm waiting on that. At the moment, the closest I'm getting in public schools is through after-school programs. So Sun is one that I'm involved with, Ethos and Music House PDX as well.
And have you had sessions out there yet?
Yes.
And what's it been like?
It's been great. It's actually, kids want to practice their instrument and get the robot to move. So it's a motivation for them. And thank you.
Cap op of standing.
Hi guys, I really want to wiggle. That was really awesome. That was amazing. My name is Kat. I'm a co-founder of Stand-In, and we are a company that are led by designers, and we're dedicated to making amazing design software, bringing the designer's workflow into the mobile age. You know, I don't really think I have to tell this room that we are surrounded by devices, and there are just so many of them. It's a plethora of screens. But have you guys really considered who creates those experiences? It all boils down to a partnership of engineers and designers. And the designer's workflow is one, unlike the developer who has had a lot of advancements in it, the designer's workflow is archaic, it's old, and it has a really weird aspect of it. And it starts out in a normal spot. Designers design what the app will look like on their desktop using design software. And then it takes a really strange turn. Whoops. Okay. It takes a really strange turn. Designers stop being designers and they start being engineers. So if they want to design any of the interactions or any of the different kinds of like how you interact with the app or what happens to a button when you touch it, they have to do that in code. And all this is really so they can test it on their device, show it to someone, and get their feedback. And then the process starts all over again. And this doesn't even account for all of the different devices that are available today. And so we are designers ourselves. We've experienced this pain. We've been in the design space for the past 7 years, and we've done experiences for a lot of major brands. And it was such a huge pain every time that we wanted to design interactions, we had to code. And so we're solving it. We're actually creating a design platform that will work by becoming the interaction layer on top of all of the existing design software that's available. And this is going to allow designers to be just as ahead of the curve as developers as far as the technology. So they can design for devices that you would expect, like phones and tablets, but even emerging devices like watches and cars. All right, let's get into a demo. So this is our product today. And this is just showing there's the emulator over there, which happens on device in real time. And then this is actually Photoshop. So this is showing someone creating a scrolling element. So my 2 hands. So scrolling here. And just by using a simple action in our panel, someone can inject that into their app and it updates on their device in real time. And so we put a default in there, but you can easily add your own design and interact with it. It was really important for us to make sure that all of this was happening on the actual device that someone's designing for, because you have to be able to test it instead of just looking at it on a computer. And so even adding something simple like a button, we can jump to different screens and we can add different kinds of transactions. And right now we ship by putting in default UI, but you can add your own. And this is really just, through our experience, it was so unbelievably frustrating that to be able to just design and do our job well, we also had to be engineers. And so we really wanted to empower designers of any kind to be able to design for mobile. So I think that's it. I'm a little nervous, so I talked really quickly, but I'm happy to take your questions.
So is your app the Photoshop plugin that makes this happen, or is there something different to it?
Yeah, so we actually have our current version, our V1, which is just a Photoshop plugin, but we're working on something that works with Sketch and Photoshop and other design tools, and also has advanced motion design in it, which is really important. So you can really dive in deep and design any interaction you could possibly imagine, the same you could do in code just in our app. Yeah?
So does that let you export a file to use on other people's devices as well too, or is it just local to that machine?
Yes, so it actually goes through our server, so it can be seen on any device anywhere in the world.
yeah, it was important for us to be able to share it in real time. So we have people who are using it now who will use it for client presentations, and if the client has a change, they can change it on their computer in real time and it'll update on their device.
So I noticed it was an OS Apple device. Is it also Android friendly and other stuff?
So my background's in Android. I love Android, and my co-founder's iOS. And so we're working on Android right now.
I'm gonna get an iPhone.
Sorry.
Do you have any plans to integrate with GIMP? And related to that, how much of your own software is open source?
GIMP?
GIMP, the open
Yeah, I'm
source
sorry, I
Photoshop?
wasn't sure if I heard you. We don't have plans right now to integrate with GIMP, and we are not open source right now. But the technical guy is right here, so you can talk him about it.
I would recommend that if you like your life, don't integrate with GIMP because the source code is really disgusting.
Is the primary purpose for prototyping, or do you have ambitions to create template code for Xcode or other development frameworks?
Oh, that's a great question. We actually do have that ambition. So right now we're starting with interaction and just focusing on that piece of the puzzle in the designer's workflow, and then we'll expand eventually to kind of take over the whole workflow, anywhere from collaboration, but also doing scaffolding for Xcode.
So in the background, is the code it's generating right now for your app for just iOS alone, or is it doing actual CSS code that we take with web apps?
So that's a native viewer, and so right now we're just doing iOS.
So this is a follow-up on a previous question. It seems as though this could also be a really incredible tool for UX research.
Oh, yes. Yes. If you want to talk about that more, I'd be happy to talk about it. It's great.
Do you have an ideal client?
So we would love, right now we have a lot of designers at large companies using us, and so anyone that has a design team is a perfect fit. Okay, well thanks so much you guys, I appreciate you hanging in there with me.
So our next presenter is Larry Logan of Digimark.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Since we're out in the suburbs, let me tell you just a little bit about Digimark. We've been around for a while, but Digimark is the pioneer and world leader in imperceptible digital identities, watermarks, which I'll show you in just a few minutes. We got our start with the idea that the premise being that consumers want to connect with creators of content in some way to have a greater brand experience, or perhaps just simply to learn more information. We were integrated in Photoshop back in 1996 as a third-party plugin, and we remain the only third-party plugin today. And our clients include, we went public in '99, our clients include Disney, Nielsen, Time Life, World Banks, and in fact, all of you this evening in your purses or wallets, you have Digimark enabled material. So, imperceptible digital watermarks, what is that? Digital identities. Basically, it's a small code that's repeated throughout a piece of media. That can be a still image, can be video, can be audio. You can't see it, you can't hear it. And yet a device such as a scanner or the smartphone, as you'll see tonight, can make sense of that slight, very slight change that we've made to that particular media. So it's one way to think about it, it's like the idea of being a trigger. And that trigger can create an experience. It could be some kind of action within the application on the phone, or it could be a pointer to a URL. So I'll give you an example, and I'm going to be using just our demo application, but we don't build our brand on top of yours. Basically, we provide the tools that you integrate into your particular app. So we're not like just Sam that's trying to do that. So here's Cooking Light Magazine. It's one of our clients for some number of years, and I'm simply going to point, there we go, simply point it at the image. There's no QR code. It's simply embedded throughout the image. I think I should be connected there. Yeah, so basically all the photographs of dishes in the magazine have got watermarks, and the readers know that. They've been trained for a while. So basically, I can go to the market. I've got the recipe. I've got all the ingredients already on my phone. Here's an example with just another print example. So here's a poster. It's got 6 CDs on it, and I'm a little further away. It's right about there, and it's going to come up, and I've got all 6 CDs. But let's say I was kind of interested. Oh, let's see, Gaga and Tony there. So with a slight, I'm going to There we go. There we go, yeah. Took a second. So basically now, in essence, I just transferred from print. It could be even a CD package. It could be a download service that I can play on and transfer it. And then one other last thing I'll show you is also our ability to do audio. Okay. So it's already hit there. And then basically, again, it's a way to do a detection, and now I've got the album. So the audio, we've just started to release that. We've been in print and video. If actually I had a video screen, I could show you the same trick. But audio's new. We've just started to release that, and it's both for music companies, but also in terms of retail environment. Again, it's not branded with us. And one of the really cool things is that we're developing live watermarking. So a band that's playing in an arena, that is, the sound comes out of the speakers, it already has the watermark embedded. The watermarks can be changed constantly. So there can be multiple watermarks say, with any given song. And then as people can have an experience with an app right there in the arena, but as they upload to YouTube, in the audio track or either social media, the watermark's being carried in the audio. Now, one other thing we can do, let's say we can do multiple watermarks within a print or within an audio file. But the other really cool thing is that what that payoff is, we call a payoff, you see there in the tray, that can be changed at any given time by you. So even though that code is fixed, at any given time you can create a different experience for someone who is sampling that. So you pull up simply your manager, you repoint that, or you create, again, different URL, you may have existing assets you can point to. The idea there, you can almost have day parts and night parts. So I can listen to that music in the daytime here, might have one experience, you go on in 1 minute and change it, this evening I have an entirely different experience. So this is a way that media can actually have a longer life and can constantly be updated. In terms of going to market, Mobile Roadie, which is the premier maker of apps for bands, they're integrating us into their SDK. There's other companies, large production music companies with millions of tracks that are starting to embed. They'll be using that for tracking and monitoring, and in terms of a bit of rights management and make sure that plays and payments and royalties go. So there are many applications for audio, but we're just starting to roll out. And then lastly, the tools are free. The SDK is free. If you go to digimark.com, and you can get in touch with me, Larry.Logan at digimark.com, see me afterwards. And we just simply charge based upon the code that's used, but you can reuse that code any number of times over a year and do a renewal. So
Questions?
Okay.
Questions, as I'm sure
Yes.
there's a lot of questions.
So you said you could have multiple watermarks embedded in the picture. Is there a limit to how many?
Not really. So as a plugin in Photoshop, you can demarcate different areas that you want to embed into. So you can have a poster with the Trailblazers, different team members, and you can point to that, and every one of them, every player would have a different payoff. Yes?
How much you guys looking at augmented reality stuff, where,
Yeah.
you know, Google Glasses and things like that, where...
Yeah, not for us. I mean, it's just simply our expertise, and we have 800 patents and many more in the queue. And this is really, we're signal processing experts, and this has been our reputation. This is our bread and butter.
How do you know if a picture has a watermark in it, I guess?
Yeah, so what happens typically would be, there's often, depends on the publication, but often there would be some kind of small notation at the bottom. For example, Cooking Light, the readers know that everything in there is done that way. But for a poster, it might be some signal. So it just depends. If it's an environment where people know it's always queued up, then it's less. But if it's an introductory thing, then you might, it would be added. Yes?
For the end user, what do they have to be able to read the code?
Yeah, in this case, I mean, certainly you could use our demo app. And Walmart's doing a test right now just using our demo app. But actually the idea would be to take our SDK, API calls, and it's integrated into whatever the brand's app is. Yeah. Yes?
So I know these watermarking things are usually based on FFTs and that sort of thing. So how much distortion does it add to the audio when you watermark stuff, like in decibels?
I can't give it to you in decibels. I can say that right now we're working with the top mastering engineers. Record label executives are saying we can't tell the difference. And it's always been a challenge in the past, was that it was detectable. People have used our patents in the past and released watermarking. This is the first time that Digimark has released our own 100%, and we spent 4 years in development on that. So it really is a whole new whole new standard.
So it's probably along the lines of, if you can tell the difference between a 256 kilobit and a 320 kilobit MP3, you might be able to know this kind of thing.
I'll have to introduce you to our engineers to get that.
So Shazam has been doing this with audio for
Yeah.
a bit also.
Yeah.
In fact, they're the primary source, like if you're watching a TV show, they say
Sure.
Shazam us now and you'll see some special content or
Yeah.
special advertising. Have you done any product comparison with
Yes,
them? Or have
so
they
a couple of real
not
quick
done
examples. One, again, we're not trying to build our brand. So the payoff, it doesn't go to ads, insurance company, all those things. It's really your payoff. We detect in about a quarter of the time. We can do multiple payoffs within that song where they can only do one. We're far more robust in ambient noise detection. So those are some of the technical things. The other key thing is that those schemes of fingerprinting are basically, I'll finish the point. What they're basically doing is sampling a song, creating a database with algorithms. They sort of listen to the song, look at the database, and they try and go probabilistic, okay, I think it matches. We're actually embedded in the content, so we're deterministic. So our false positive rate's only 1 out of 16 million. So if it's in there, we know it. So we're not sitting there going, you know, try again, get closer to the speaker, we think it's an entirely different process.